Right, reacting to my Euro predictions. We all need a laugh, don't we? So let's do exactly that. I'm going to watch this back so you don't have to. And then I'm going to summarise the nonsense that came out of my mouth. This is my job. Massive thank you to League Predictor, who provided a platform via the app to allow us to get involved together. Now, somehow I'm going to have to talk through and justify some of the choices I've made during this tournament because I got 44% right according to my predictions before a ball was kicked. In the group stage, let's have a look. And I wasn't even in the top 100 of my league, the JLA league. Leon Bailey, could be that one, not sure. You, my friend, 69% of your picks were correct. Unbelievable. You absolutely got the correct scores for the semi-final and the final. So, tip of the cap to you, sir. In the groups, 50% correct. It got worse in the knockouts, 40%. In terms of getting scores correct, 13%. Wow. So let's try and justify it, shall we? So this is how I ended up. I flip-flopped all over the place. My initial gut feeling was that Scotland would finish fourth. That was correct. But what I will have to say is that it was tight margins. Really, really tight margins when it came to Group A. And a few of the groups, actually, as well, where there's like last-minute goals. I guess last-minute drama, which made the difference between second and third and therefore allowed for a bit of drama in terms of teams going out. Obviously, we're going to get to Croatia in a second, and I think that's what I'm thinking about right now. But even Hungary, right, they celebrated like anything, and yet didn't make it through. Scotland, for the bulk of it, and obviously that game as well, were in third position. So from that point of view, it was okay. Germany were expected to do well. Switzerland, I think, surprised me in terms of the quality that they were able to offer. Hungary, I said that I wasn't having it. I also predicted that Szoboszlai would score a free kick. He didn't do that. Wasn't really able to step up in this tournament for them, despite them getting that moment, of course, of the last-minute goal against Scotland to get the victory there, but got pumped by Switzerland in that first game, and I think that did lay the marker down, as Roy would say. So I think it was completely fair what happened there. My bias maybe got in the way a little bit, sure, but sue me. I'm going to do that, right? But overall, a very disappointing one for Scotland. From an attacking point of view, again, it's another one where I think one of the main themes here is that desire to go forward and that bravery to go forward. I think fans are really, really wanting that now. Really wanting that to be, really kind of gung-ho to a point. Because some of the heroes of this tournament are those teams that just kind of went for it a bit. And so that'll be interesting to see if that becomes a bit more of a theme going into the World Cup and future international tournaments. Because I think for the last, let's say, close to a decade, let's say, when you think of Deschamps, Southgate, teams like that, that sort of safety-first approach, that pragmatic approach has obviously worked in international football. So maybe at times they are changing. Who knows? On to Group B. I said Spain would control the group. Happy with that. Got that right. I said that Croatia always turn up. Not sure we really saw that this time. I think against Spain, actually, for, I guess 20 minutes, they looked good, actually. It looked okay. And then Spain sort of went bang, bang, or whatever the Spanish equivalent for that is, and therefore then had the game in their hands. And I think when you win that first game, you give yourself a really, really good chance. I think, for me, going into it, I thought Italy might stink the place out. I was struggling with their forward line. I thought their midfield might get overrun a little bit. And I think overall, that kind of was the case. Spain toyed with them. Probably one of the highlights of the tournament in terms of quality of play. Croatia and Italy, it was one of those ones where it became, I get this correct if that last-minute goal doesn't go in. But that last-minute goal did go in. So Italy kind of were able to find a way, and what a way they did that. Incredible last-minute goal against Croatia that got them over the line. And I think we obviously saw the end maybe there when it comes to Croatia and Modric and that golden generation that they've had. But Italy, as we know, when we get into the knockouts, weren't great. I'm pretty turgid, and therefore it's I'm okay with that prediction. I thought it was all right. Albania, I think, were really good fun. Again, made some of these teams sweat a little bit, but overall I think that the quality shone through. They were sort of hanging in there a lot of the time, and weren't able to get over the line, were they? On to Group C, and there were some good takes here. I thought I'd done all right with the group stage. I think the knockouts were an absolute stinker. I said England would win the first game. I said they would draw against Denmark, and I said that they would top the group. I didn't say that they were going to lose against a draw against Slovenia, but they got themselves 5 points. Of course, England topped that group. Denmark finished second with 3 points, as did Slovenia, who got 3 points as well from 3 draws. Didn't lose, of course, during the group stage. And Serbia, who I thought had enough firepower and enough overall quality to really push Denmark, didn't really do that at all. I think really disappointing tournament for them. I think we kind of let them creep back into the game, and for them to not win a game out of those 3, I think they'll be massively disappointed with that. But a really tough group for England in terms of our performances, not in terms of the group itself. And yes, we got the 5 points, but I think we would have hoped for a lot more when it comes to performances. Next up, Group D. I had France to win the group, Austria to finish second, and I was quite bullish in the sense that I felt like Ronald Koeman might be the problem here, and that they would finish third. And I was also very bullish about Poland. I thought they would be really, really poor, and they turned out to really, really struggle. So I got the bulk of it correct. Austria, I said, would shock the Netherlands. They obviously did with that victory. Obviously, they shocked the group as well in terms of getting that win. Poland getting the draw against France meant that Austria were able to get that win. But in that first game against France, they had a proper go at them as well, actually. So Austria, I think, one of the darlings of the tournament. And again, coming back to that idea of energy, and I guess it's one word, like, how important is that? Like, do we really care? Like, does that feeling of the game itself and that sort of, gung-ho approach, is that something that is a must now for you as a fan of your country, or is it just about getting over the line? I think Austria should have got further in this tournament. They really, really should have. So it was no surprise for them to get through the group. Maybe a bit of a surprise for them to win the group. I guess that's down to France and their inability to score goals in this one. This next one, Group E, stinks. Absolutely stinks. The group of 4, let's say, they all finished on 4 points. I went with Belgium, Ukraine, Romania, Slovakia. The way it ended, of course, was that they were all on 4 points. All 1-1, drew 1, lost 1. And Ukraine finished bottom. I had them as dark horses. I thought they had a lovely balance to them, but they started the tournament terribly. I thought it was really easy, Romania and Slovakia. It wasn't. And I guess you didn't totally get it wrong, in terms of it just becoming about goal difference. And Ukraine, their goal difference was hurt so badly by that first game. Romania sort of really, that first week was great, wasn't it? Do you remember the goals? Just banging goals in. It was great fun. Interesting one when it comes to Belgium in terms of that bad start, that victory for Slovakia. Elements of fortune in that, but it's going to be if Slovakia were going to get a win. Lukaku had probably a heartbreaking tournament for him in terms of the goals that were disallowed that could have painted such a different picture for him and Belgium. I thought they'd be able to get a real amount of momentum in this group because it was an easier group, or I thought it was. But again, that's good. You want those mistakes to be made from us and see something different. But I thought Belgium and Ukraine, and actually it turned out that Belgium finished second, Romania first, and of course Slovakia in third spot, who took on England in the next round. And last up, when it comes to the groups, I got it right. I said it would be cut and dry for Portugal. I guess they were already there. They were comfortable. They were fine, weren't they? But of course lost to Georgia, who ended up finishing third. Czechia in fourth spot. Turkey finishing second, level on points with Portugal. Yeah, I think I expected a little bit more from Portugal, and I think, again, it was going to be a group that I thought they were going to have a proper go. I did also say that there could be a moment for Kvaratskhelia if they are to prove me wrong. He could go through one-on-one, and there was that moment as well. So, if you throw enough crap at the wall, some of it will stick. Thank God. Right, now when it comes to the knockouts, of course, before a ball's kicked, what's really interesting here is, of course, the draw, because everyone who did their predictions had this as the semi-finals. But if we look at the knockout prediction and then what actually came to be, so different. And what I said at this moment, I said, if these aren't the four, someone's messed up. And I guess, obviously someone did mess up, and that team was France in terms of finishing second in their group. And it changed it massively, didn't it? In terms of the route that could have been. And it's interesting. I had England, Romania, and obviously England, Slovakia. It's a similar level of team, let's be honest. Then England, Switzerland. And of course, we played Switzerland in that next round. So we got that kind of element of it right? But then it was supposed to be France. And of course it wasn't. So France finishing second in that group. And when we look at the sort of live knockouts in terms of England's route, which you can see in the bottom right here, we should have played, I thought we were going to play Austria. And so in terms of what I was expecting to see, it obviously was so different in terms of what came to actually be. In terms of my predictions and what then played out and what was, to be expected, I thought we had Spain-Netherlands in terms of getting that right. But in terms of what you were truly expecting, I think we all thought Denmark would finish second and therefore they would take on Germany, and then they did. And then it was going to be Germany versus Spain. Spain, similar kind of thing, of course. So those two did go up against each other. I had Germany winning that 1-0. Obviously, they didn't. Spain were the real deal. And I think that is a learning here as well, is got to trust the performances and not just the out-and-out names or even the star names as well, because it takes a village, guys. It takes the team. And I think that's what I will take into the next tournament when you're doing these kind of things and you're trying to think who's going to do what. It is about that little mix between, can the stardust come from the collective, like an Austria, or, is one individual is just not going to be enough, I think, these days. It has to be about the whole team. And I thought Germany-Spain, one of the games of the tournament for me, absolutely loved it. Portugal, as we expected to win their group, they then had to go up against not Austria. They took on France instead, which, of course, made it very, very different for them. And France were able to kind of get themselves over the line in that one. And therefore, you had France against Spain in that semi-final and us against Netherlands. That draw really, really did play out really, really nicely for us. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think when you come onto those final reflections and you come back to this, I think it's one where you go, for England, I think if we'd got to a semi-final and it had played out the way we wanted it to play out in terms of us doing our job, which we did, right? We would have got to this semi-final. If you kind of changed the draw about, I think we still would have played, Slovakia or a team that's finished third, obviously. And then you would have taken on Switzerland, which, of course, we made our way through that one. So it would have been France instead of Netherlands. And so I think if we then go out to France, I guess it depends on the performance of France, right? But if it's the France that we thought before a ball was kicked, then it does look differently, doesn't it? It'd be interesting to see if the same narratives would come out in the sense that we then were able to get that step further to get to the final. And so you're in a final, like, wow, obviously plaudits, that is an achievement. But because of that fortunate draw, we took on the Netherlands, who, of course, finished third in their initial group. So we didn't take on a group winner on the way to the final, which does make it look that little bit different. Whereas you look at Spain and how they were able to get through, Germany, France, and obviously a France team that's beaten a Portugal side, the amount of those top dogs that were taken out made it very, very different. And in the end, my final was, of course, I thought we were going to have a Portugal-France one. I couldn't get past how good the squad was, and I really thought Martinez was going to get them going properly. But I think maybe he overcomplicated a little bit. And I think you come back to that DNA that Spain have, and the fact that this isn't a group of superstars from, those mega clubs that have all the money and scoop up all the talent. So this is obviously ingrained in Spain, right? The ingrain in Spain allows them to not go on a plane, And so there you have it. My predictions stunk. I'm sure yours were better. If you did say that Spain were going to win it, congratulations. Let me know in the comments down below. Did England do better than you thought they would, or worse? Of course, there's a nuance of the draw in that as well, but I'd love to know your thoughts on that. And also I'd love to know your thoughts on France, Germany, and Portugal. Those final other semi-finalists that we all thought, I think a lot of us, thought might be the semi-finalists in terms of who had the best squad, in terms of those names.